ready to call to order. Meeting the Affordable Housing Trust on May 27th, 5 p.m. So do you want to approve the previous minutes?
I don't think I
was just gonna say,
this
we
meeting
have
we got-
previous minutes?
So
Yeah. Okay. We'll skip that.
Lauren starts on Mondays.
Oh, that's great.
So then we'll get caught up on minutes.
Full time?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Great, nice.
Has she started at all?
Yeah, she's been helping out the Concom with their minutes.
You know, assistant planner.
That's
So
great.
she's gonna do a lot of housing,
That's great.
which has been. One person can't do all the, well, they can because. it's a
February 30 or something, 22, 23?
Huh?
What is she, 22, 23?
It's just
I'm
great.
not gonna comment with her.
This is HR test?
I'm apologizing here.
You're right, Brian.
You almost gave it, Mike.
Yeah.
So you held back. That's good. Kelly, the question, and maybe it's to Michael.
Yeah.
Do all the minutes that we do have
Mhm.
published or written up, are those on the website?
Probably not, but they will be.
Okay.
Oh, that's one of her tasks that I'll be asking her to do.
Good.
Is yeah, get them on, because like a few of my other boards, EDC included, needs to be all uploaded. So that you can
Oh,
access
I
them.
thought the town clerk's.
No, we individually do them for
Really?
for the boards, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, it'd be recorded?
Yep.
I really don't. Does like,
Okay, for me
do the
to-
minutes?
So,
I wish we could do minutes like this. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I mean, this is what you get via transcript. So it's not,
So AI can't.
It's not.
Yeah.
AI can do it in a different program, but it's still, what I've heard is it's still not great.
Mhm.
The Wendy's in Mansfield does a great job taking, because it's an AI in the drive-through. Amazing.
She did it right?
Yes,
that's right, he was down the Cape.
it's quite something.
We're wondering.
I thought you just drove down there.
For the AI
Experience.
experience, yeah.
Okay, treasurer's report.
I'm sorry, I did not make copies, but I'll read it off. So this is as of April 30th. Have available funds to us of $111,220. That consists of the three open accounts at this point. One for $97,567, which was from special town meeting of 2023. And then we have $3,750 coming back also from the special town meeting of 2023. That was approved for the posting report. And so we have paid $11,250. Mike, all that work has been done. Do you know if we're gonna be getting a balance bill for that?
Balance bill, I'm sorry, so, for the
For the
action plan?
the housing trust action plan? You know, maybe that's I'm not sure. Oh, that's what this is.
Okay,
That's, yeah, that's what your email was about, I responded with, and that's. Did I print that for you? I know I sent it to you, I copied, because I believe the trust approved that remainder expenditure
Yes.
$3,749.
Yeah.
Back in your April meeting.
Mhm.
So that was captured in my folder of invoices that have been paid that I want verification that they've been paid. So if you provided that verification with your question, which is great.
All right. So you want me to work with Kenny just to get it paid on the rich account? So,
Yeah, was it taken out of the incorrect account?
yeah, it's
Okay.
taken out of something from 2014 special town meeting
Okay,
account.
all right.
I can address the question if you want me to.
Sure, yeah.
See, I'll copy you.
I can probably, what he'll probably ask is that I submit a form like this as like a transfer account to accounts form.
Okay.
So
You don't just want to do that?
do you want to just, yeah, do you want to tell me? Or just send me an email?
So the account that, the listings that I sent to you.
Yeah.
Earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, so just, we'll get the correct account that should be
Yeah,
on
the
this.
second one, you'll see the balance is 3,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Good, that makes
can the trust authorize me to submit that with my signature? And perhaps just make sure that it comes out of the correct account.
do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to be able to transfer the payment, $3,749 from where it was charged to of the special town meeting of 2014, Article 12, to the account of the special town meeting of 2023, Article 12.
Here a second.
A second.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay.
I just want to point out is the community housing, it's not our money, but the CPA has 10% that they reserve over to for housing and some other activities. That balance is $876,000, 890. And also at the special town meeting, no, the annual town meeting a few weeks ago, town approved 92,196 to be transferred to the, that's 10% to three different purposes. The community housing being one of those, so that will increase by $92,000. And then also in that, at that town meeting, there was a article to be able to reimburse the housing trust for, let me write that down, $12,000, I think, roughly, which was mistakenly taken from our accounts to pay for insurance for Holy Angels. So that will be coming back to us. So our balance will be of that $111,000 I told you, will be increased roughly by $12,000. So be 123.
And the 125,000 for the, our share of the township, that was CPC, correct? And that was, so that doesn't go into our account,
That's my
goes from the CPC.
right to Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, well. There was another item on the warrant.
Another
That-
225 is different from the, what was it, one?
There's 160
Yeah,
approved at
160,
the town meeting.
Okay, yes,
125 though is in the draft document of the.
yeah, so it's always, yes.
Oh, okay, development.
Okay, so it's
Perfect.
160,
Mhm.
but I thought we did the bylaw revision too, so that that money could, or is that just for future?
That's for future.
Okay,
So that'll need to fast forwarding to your future agenda item, that'll need to change within the
okay.
document.
So the money that will go to Habitat is coming directly from capital
Mhm.
community preservation. You understand that little nuance, correct? About the property on.
Well, I know, I was at the
Yeah.
town meeting, so I know,
Yeah.
and I.
Well, yeah, that's why, yeah, but it's like we couldn't pay for it out of ours, so it could receive the system bureaucratic.
Yep.
Yeah, so I spoke to you,
Yes.
so
But in the future, we will be. able
we
to
will
do
be
the
able to
bylaw.
do that. Any other questions for treasurer? Okay. Town report.
Yeah, I don't have a written report for you tonight. The only thing, so what I'm working on currently, because it's grant season right now, is a couple grant applications. One, and everything's kind of driven through the planning board at this moment, but what I'd be looking for is funding to push back up a little bit. The town got funding through CMRPC to do what's called a zoning diagnostic. So they're gonna tear apart our zoning bylaw and look at, what doesn't work essentially. Not to the extent of policy or anything like that, but just like where are there, do conflicts exist in the language, and are there inconsistencies throughout the document that need to be addressed? They might take the time to actually address a little bit of policy changes within their recommendations on the end, just given that the town, you just completed your housing production plan. And so there are recommendations for policy changes that include the zoning bylaws within that. So that's a fresh document that would be good enough to act on at this point, but we don't have any sort of other recent planning documents. I mean, your 2005 master plan is not a recent planning document to maybe base any new policy changes with regard to zoning bylaws on. But so it'll be more of a cleanup of language more than anything. So we've secured that. I don't have the doc, they haven't finished their work on it, but I've secured that work. And once that work is complete, I'll have a recommendation for bylaw changes. And the second phase of that is what do you do with those recommendations? You incorporate them into your zoning bylaw. So I would be looking for funding to have a firm then create that new document that can be presented at the town meeting via the planning board, via the select board for adoption for a new zoning bylaw. Again, likely not a complete rewrite of your zoning bylaw, more just updates to it. That's one part of it. The second part of it is subdivision rules and regulations. The planning board has subdivision rules and regulations, which govern how subdivisions get built. And those are also very out of date. They recognize old engineering standards that are no longer applicable. That sort of thing. I'd like to take the opportunity to when we're get revised set of regulations to really address any other changes that the planning board would like to make at that time. That's the planning board's document, but obviously that impacts housing. All this impacts housing, which is, I haven't mentioned it here tonight. And so I'd like to get funding for that. Somebody's submitting an application to the state for that as well. The third thing is I would like to get funding to have a firm, I'm submitting a grant for this, to have a firm develop design guidelines for any and all multifamily within the town, specifically the MBTA district, which was just approved. So if that can be accomplished, that would be great. I figure why not use that to do the rest of the town as well. I mean, anything that I presume the town would like to see reflected for design guidelines, facade treatments for a multifamily within that district. Presumably you'd like to see elsewhere in town as well, given that that's a brand new district, not a lot to draw from within its close proximity.
But it's a 40Bs would be exempt from any of this. It would just be affordable.
Mhm. 40Bs, yes, they are exempt. It gives you a little bit more to lean on as a community when you have somebody file for a 40B, say, hey, we already have these design guidelines implemented in town that we would like to see.
Yeah.
We'd like to have them adhered to, and then it's incumbent upon them to prove that following those guidelines is not financially feasible, and then that's a whole mess through, Mass Appeals Court, and that sort of thing, housing court, but that's a larger discussion.
Yeah.
So those are the three things I'm looking to get funding for right now. What the fourth thing is relative to just making some ADA improvements to the bathrooms in the Racine and the Kiwanis Beach building. That's not related to housing.
The ADUs be in that policy change, not, you said it wasn't a policy change, in bylaws, any updates?
I was thinking about that almost for the subdivision rules and regulations, because what we're not doing right now is, because it's so brand new, when the planning board receives an application for a subdivision is, I guess, reviewing subdivision plans for their ability to accommodate accessory dwelling units. Maybe that's not a very rigorous review, but it's something to consider.
Mhm.
Were you talking about the design guidelines or just?
I'm not sure which one of the three, but I think it was maybe this.
I think it was the zoning, I think you were
Oh, yeah.
referring to cleaning up the zoning and where the ADU was gonna be reflected in the.
If it's any work needed to be clean up that language.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and there probably is, so they should have access to your new ADU bylaw to review. I mean, so, because that's a part of your bylaws now. No, it isn't technically,
Because it hasn't been approved by the state.
because the AG's office is still not approving those.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, they're not,
Why?
Because they haven't gotten around to it.
yeah, basically, I mean, that's my
it's not
understanding.
a challenge in the courts or anything.
Yeah, my understanding is there's nothing particularly wrong with Upton's bylaw that was adopted. It's just they are holding all of them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, but ADUs anyway are lowercase, affordable housing. They don't come towards the
Yeah.
the inventory, so.
Mhm. So, yeah, that's pretty much the update. Everything else related to this board is on the
Yeah,
agenda.
if it hasn't been approved, ADUs have not been approved by the Attorney General's office yet. Because people are moving ahead and.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody's actually pulled permits for them,
No, nobody has pulled a
because they
single
can't
permit.
until the AG signs off on it.
No, they can. The state law is in effect. So,
Okay. Okay, I thought that was what.
Is that a case by case basis, the planning board decides?
No, it's by the whole ADU, the whole state law says they can do by right, all they have to do is pull a building permit. So they can just do it if, the setbacks and all that stuff is fine. So, okay, I thought that was what was on.
No, so how that impacts Upton is, the state law is that ADUs are allowable by right in all residential zones. So that is everywhere in town except for your C&I district and general business district. Technically, you're where the DPW is technically, but that's its own zoning district. Yeah, those are the only ones. So, Glen Ave, which I think is technically in a general business district. A lot of Williams Street.
The entire, just one part of Glen Ave, the part towards 140.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot of homes on
How
this.
he is.
A little bit business.
You're a general.
So, and yeah, so there's a lot of homes there that currently are not eligible under the state law because that's a job business. But as soon as the AG accepts,
Then they
Yeah.
are.
then they can qualify for it.
Okay. Any questions for? You have any questions on it? So 28,
Lance is also on the phone. We have a guest.
Oh.
Lance is on the phone too.
oh. Hi Lance, do you have any questions on anything that's been talked about thus far?
Nope, just waiting on the 28 Hartford Ave North conversation.
Well, boy, guess what we're getting to now on the agenda? 28 Hartford Avenue, discuss next steps, land development agreement, town meeting. So you want to give a brief?
So tonight, yeah, thank you. Mike Getzinel's town planner. Thanks to having guests at the Affordable Housing Trust. I was hoping tonight to have a conversation with Hank Rauch of Habitat. Unfortunately, he had an emergency. He could not attend tonight. I was hoping to go through the land development agreement that was sent out to everybody. This includes Hank's edits to be incorporated and reviewed. The draft itself was drafted by town council. And so, yeah, again, I was hoping to have it back and forth with Hank on what he sees next steps being and, the position that Habitat is in. As I'm sure you want to know about, there's been a lot of questions about just the changing financial landscape regarding housing rapidly, right? So, he's confirmed that they're ready to get going and that they're, they know as much as anybody else with regard to changing prices, things like that. There's certainly subject to all of it being in the marketplace, but they're still confident they can pull through and provide under the terms of this agreement. So beyond that, my outstanding question, which I believe is Brian's as well, is with regard to what was passed at town meeting, this trust's ability to spend upwards of now 300,000, I think it was, in a given year. If that has gone into effect, that does need to be reviewed as a part of all town meeting materials that get sent to the Attorney General's office for review. And
But that doesn't have to do with this. Because the money isn't coming from us, it's coming from the CPC.
oh, that's an interesting.
It's not like a bylaw review or just the warrant gets reviewed by the state.
The bylaw. The bylaw.
Yeah, but the bylaw doesn't come into play for this expenditure.
Mhm.
That's directly from the CPC. I think that was what I was talking about earlier. So the
Okay.
CPC will be making, it's my understanding,
Mhm.
the CPC will be paying the housing, the town share, the 160.
Yeah, the CPC funds.
Yeah,
technically,
is
they
it
were
not,
gonna-
it wasn't
Yeah.
transferred to us, it was to, spend it, so I don't think that's a discussion, I mean, it's a discussion, but I don't think it's for here.
Hmm.
You thought it was to us, the trust?
Yeah, it wasn't the warrant to transfer to housing trust funds. That's what I thought. It wasn't, that was how we, yeah,
But it's still CPC funds.
it is still.
Oh, it is CPC.
Oh,
Okay.
you are right. To see if the town will vote to transfer $160,000 from the CPA Affordable Housing Reserve account to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay, so it was transferred to us. Okay,
I think it must have been thinking that the bylaw would get reviewed and approved. How long does it normally take for the state to?
They have,
Oh, geez.
they have 90 days to do that.
And when did that clock stop ticking?
town meeting.
No, not on time.
Now, we'll send them all in, depends on what they send.
Oh,
I know Denise has already sent everything in.
She did,
Yeah,
so we got 9 days. She sent.
do they usually take the 90 days?
yes. In the past, they have. It usually, it's not usually 30 days.
Yeah.
It's usually, yeah,
Be nice if it was after July 1st, then.
if it's 90 days, they're sending you an email or something.
Yeah,
Requesting
they've
an
asked,
extension. Yeah.
yeah, because that's happened.
Mhm.
So what I would like to do tonight, seeing we have folks here and they can, again, instead of town meeting, you folks have been very patient with this. If possible, I would like us to talk about this document, if there's any changes, and then we can have it ready to go, as soon as we can execute.
Mhm.
Because I'd like to, get this locked up as quickly as possible. I do know, Langston, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name.
So,
So, yes,
Sue Roker.
that's a tough name. Yeah, I remember where you live. I remember talking to you online. I remember all that stuff, but I just forgot the name. Do you have any questions thus far? Did you have a chance to look at that was on the website? Did you have a chance to look at this?
Is that posted on the
Yeah.
website since it's
That-
not?
I don't think
online?
this is
Oh, I
posted
thought it
now.
was. Okay.
I know the agenda is on the website, but I'm not aware of that particular document because
This is not posted. I'd be happy to post it.
Do we have an extra copy? Because.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to take a look at it?
oh, sure.
You can hold it up, so. um, So, I had, just to get it started, I was looking over this and, I had very few issues, I guess. One of them was, when it was talking about corruption of obligations. I was not, it says, yeah, it's on page 491. Page 4. Construction obligations, it says the unit shall have a minimum of. That seems like a lot for a 1,400 square foot.
Yeah,
I would prefer to say a maximum of members.
I think so. I agree with you.
You just say minimum of 1,400 square feet.
Oh, okay.
But still, I think 4 bedrooms is a lot for that space.
Yeah, I think, he was playing, the language of minimum was provided by council, and then Hank was filling in the blanks with what, Habitat, what their standard is. And so that the unit that they create is the 4 bedrooms. So he just put 4 in there, but yeah, I agree. You should probably be changing maximum to maximums probably.
Yeah.
Best.
The other, issue, which isn't a specific technical issue like that, is there's,
Do you want to do the same to 1,400 square feet? Do you want to do the maximum? So the minimum? I mean,
I would say minimum.
I would say minimum two.
I would
think
say-
reasonable to say maximum.
Well, we don't want it to be huge.
It won't be.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about that. But once again, because their funds are tight.
I
Okay,
mean, for reference sake, those new homes on Christian Hill Road are like 5,000 square. feet.
Yeah.
Right, so.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, my house is,
But they're not affordable, right?
They are for somebody, aren't they?
Yeah,
It's probably gonna be about 1,800 square feet, wouldn't you think?
Well, I thought the proposal was 1,600. That's
The minimum of 14, maximum of 16.
I would put eight,
Can we put them like in a box like that?
I would put a maximum of 1,800.
I would too. I agree.
I think 1,800 square feet is decent size for a.
I think it's important that will fit in appropriately into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I think.
Yeah.
That size house.
And I
will.
think anything, I think your 5,000 square, just be
Yeah.
much for that. So,
A quick question.
yeah, yes, Lance?
I mean, the size of the unit is also gonna be limited by environmental regulations and also, some town code. It's not strictly gonna be what's in this document. I don't know what those codes are, but I assume that there are some, with the not water, with the, wetlands and whatnot. I mean, it's gonna limit what can be built. I mean, and I guess the question is it going to be larger potentially than the existing footprint, or do they have to work within that same footprint?
I think I can confidently say on behalf of Habitat, it'll be larger than that existing footprint. That existing footprint is only supports 900 square feet. It's a very small house.
Okay.
But they will have to, and this document does go into this in quite a bit of detail, but, they do have to comply
Mhm.
with the town, wetlands and conservation and all the applicable, regulations that exist. So, they're not gonna be able to go into the wetlands to build it. It's not that big of a site, but I still think that having, I think it makes sense to have a maximum size for that. Of
And
what
there would be a plan that would be produced, prior to construction, showing distance from, property lines and that kind of thing to review at a later date, I'm sure, right?
Through the chair, absolutely. In the document is a requirement. It says, on the second page, number 2 on the bottom, NOI contingency, meaning, which describes and requires that the Habitat has to go before the Conservation Commission to get an NOI, which is a notice of intent, which is a process that reviews the applicable wetland bylaws, and the requirement for filing before then was to have a plan showing all of those things.
And then the town does have setback requirements, so it can't, there has to be a certain setback between property lines. So it's,
And the workable part of that site is within all of those setbacks. Because there's those wetlands that are immediately upon entering
Yeah.
the site, which prohibits, those are all within the front setbacks. So that's all not able to be touched anyway. So and then the existing area that was disturbed at one time, but now the earth is reclaiming, that'll be the building envelope. It's restricted as just from the logistics of that site, not, I mentioned the wetlands, that steep grade to the back, like it immediately becomes a very steep hill. So.
Thanks.
But the long-winded ways of confirming everything you were asking.
so, the other, where it does say 125,000,
Yes.
Yeah, I was noticing.
does he need 160 or do he need 125?
But he'll need 160 by the time we build the place.
If they don't want it, I'm not gonna make them
Oh,
take
no,
it,
of course not.
No,
but I just wanna make sure.
I agree, sure, that should reflect the town meeting action.
I mean, I would just flag it and see if that was a typo. It's on
So,
page 6, maybe? Yeah, page 6.
yes,
And then,
so we can change it to 160.
well, we're gonna well, I prefer that he ask. Hank
Yeah.
what he meant.
Mhm.
So,
Think it'll be all right with that?
what,
Think Hank will be all right with that?
anymore? Yeah. No, I just, I mean, if he doesn't need it, then I'm sure Hank strikes me as an honest guy. It's gonna be, nah, something low, we're good. And then as far as all the, there are a number of conditions on this, in terms of they want it unencumbered. As far as liens and everything goes, they wanted, I do believe, a waiver from setting up the, sewer and water and connections, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
They didn't wanna pay the fee to connect with water and sewer.
Yeah, we'd be waiving all those
And
fees.
is there a process to waive them, or what is the,
I think this is that process.
okay, so Mark, okay, that's what.
I didn't see that in here. Did you read it in?
Yeah, good point. I didn't see that either.
I didn't either, which is why I was asking the question.
I think you had
Okay.
estimated $25,000 that's valued at.
Now, isn't that a force main that goes up through?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
everything's.
there's A lot of engineering for that.
Well, they would, always they want is, they don't want, I don't believe that they ever requested that we actually extend it. They don't want to be charged for it.
Yeah,
They want us to waive the fee
yeah,
for, I mean, that's what the discussion we had in this
Other
body.
than simply permits and all the other types of permits too from the
That's-
town.
Yeah, anything that the town would normally charge you for, they wanted it waived.
Well, they know the house next to the Dunkin' Donuts, if they wanted to hook up, because it's a force main. A lot of engineering, all that stuff.
okay.
But I don't think that's for us to do.
No,
Now, but I mean, that would be huge town to take on.
how,
No, I don't think we would. I mean, I don't
Well,
think,
they don't wanna pay for
no, they don't want to pay, basically,
it. That would be constituted hookup,
yeah.
because it's a force main.
Well, they weren't looking for, in my understanding, they weren't looking for a hookup. Usually we charge someone a betterment fee
Yes.
and we charge them, to be able to,
Right.
but it doesn't mean we do the engineering. I don't think it was ever assumed to be.
no, I completely agree. But we can make sure that in this,
See something.
yeah.
Was there anything else that they had requested be waived?
Those were the biggest things, was all the associated fees with, permitting and all that.
So we
Because
waived
it adds up.
all the fees, construction
Yeah.
permit,
Mhm.
stuff like that, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that should be memorialized. Again, I didn't see it, but I assumed it had to be in here because,
I didn't see it.
Yeah, and does that,
I didn't have time to read the last 3 pages, but I didn't see it prior to that.
I
should,
assumed the lawyers were looking at it. Stuff.
I mean, and that should probably be called out within the municipal subsidy. Right, so like, right after that or within that, paragraph, you should probably be detailing all of those fees.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if it was only 125,000,
Yeah.
because the rest of it was gonna come in the form of weight.
Yeah, yeah, but even if that's the case, it should be
Yeah.
spelled out here.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And as far as maintaining it as a affordable unit, it looked like Habitat was gonna take care of that and turn it over to the state
Yes,
that manages that, okay. And was there anything in here, I didn't see it, it mentioned who would qualify for this, but it didn't say, usually there's a provision for sweat equity.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't see any notification as to when that lottery would be. I don't know if it's when it's built or when it's at the beginning.
Well, it can't be when it's built if there's sweat equity. They're going to be working on it while it's being built.
Well, that's the thing, usually the ones I was familiar with, the new owner would actually help,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
and they can't do it if, so they're
Yeah,
coming, yeah.
so it's got to be price.
So, but yeah, I
That's
don't,
right.
I don't know if that's the model Habitat uses
I
anymore.
believe used to be, I don't know.
It did say it'd be 60% of
Yeah.
the median
Yeah.
area income.
And that's written in here.
Mhm.
So anybody else on the planning board, on the Affordable Housing Trust, have any questions on this?
I think it-
Lance and Sue, do you have any questions on this?
Actually, it's not really well, I guess I do have a question and just also just sort of a request, but I don't know where to, ask that request. It's something that I mentioned when I previously came to one of these meetings, which was, so I live at 2 Cape Way, so I'm a butter to the property. And Cape Way it's not a road, it's a driveway. And so I just wanted to sort of reiterate that, because in the past, when any kind of construction has been done on Hartford Avenue, we get construction vehicles parking on Cape Way. And it's not a town road and it's narrow. And so when you get construction vehicles parking there, you have no egress. You can't get any emergency vehicles up Cape Way if necessary. And what tends to happen is construction vehicles will then try to park off to the edge of Cape Way, which ends up parking in grass, which then sinks down. And anytime you drive up and down Cape Way, you can see the huge ruts that are left by construction vehicles or even delivery vehicles. So my neighbor it's actually his driveway, it belongs to 4 Cape Way. And 2 Cape Way, where I live, we have an easement to use Cape Way to access our house. So it is a definite driveway, not a road. So my neighbor has put traffic cones to try to, deter even delivery drivers who would come up and say, this is a really nice place to take a break. It's nice and shady. I think I'll just spend 15 minutes here. And we just want to make sure that whenever the house is being either demolished or under construction, that you don't get extra vehicles parking on Cape Way, whether that's like a heavy piece of machinery or whether it's the worker's car parked on Cape Way. So that I just didn't know where to sort of ask that question, because, it's, and I had, had hoped that the person from Habitat for Humanity would be here tonight, because maybe they would be able to also convey that concern of us on Cape Way.
I think that we put it
Yeah, we can put
in here and also in the building permit approval.
Yeah.
I have a question. Why is it called Cape Way if it's a driveway?
I don't know.
That's probably kind of, it doesn't say private driveway.
The only thing I can think of is,
It does say private way under.
it does say private,
Ours does too, but we still get construction vehicles parked.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the original planning back in 1988, 89. So from what I understand from the original recording of the deeds, that it was supposed to be a cul-de-sac and that 4 homes were supposed to be placed in that area. And then when construction started, they determined that it wasn't going to work out and that they could only put 2 homes. And our home supposedly was going to have access directly from Hartford Avenue North, a driveway going up to the house, but there was so much ledge that they had to move the position of the house. That's what I've been told. We weren't the original owners of the house. We purchased it years later. And so that's what I heard. So I think that's why it's called Cape Way.
So just a question, I think that is something we can put as a condition, and that's what this is about. But there's more houses in that cluster, than just the 2. You got,
No, there's just the 2 of us.
oh,
There's 2 Cape Way and 4 Cape Way.
okay. And then the one that, okay,
The one that's the White House in the front.
Yeah.
26 Hartford Avenue North, that's not, they have their own
okay.
driveway.
And Lance, which are you for?
No.
Okay, where does Lance live?
Breton Road. On the other side.
Breton Road.
Okay, right. Yeah, it's kind of an echo.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's okay. It's not your fault. Okay.
So there's nothing that says private road, no access or no,
It,
no public parking. or
it just says private way, and that was a recent addition. And I don't know if my neighbor purchased something and had it placed on top of the Cape Way sign, or if the town did. I'm not 100% sure on that. I would say that was recent within, I would say the last 3 or so years.
I wonder if they did it with the TIP project.
Oh, maybe,
Yeah, going
Yeah.
right,
yeah.
yeah. Because I think that's a requirement of the planning board's subdivision rules and regulations that for private roads to have that labeling that says private way. I think
Don't
that's the
stop
requirement.
people parking on them, 'cause they still park.
Yeah, it's people, yeah.
Right.
Construction, we've had construction vehicles at the top of our
But
street.
I think that's, I mean, in my experience,
Yeah.
you can put things in an order of conditions that, you know, restrict
Okay.
what, you know, so I'm comfortable thinking that we can do that.
Yeah, I think it would probably be, I mean, we'll confirm with council because they'll review this before you go and execute it, but see if that's probably appropriate to include in here. I mean, there's a land development agreement that are agreeing on how to develop the land and that can,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, question, where would vehicles, like if you're bringing a piece of equipment in, when would they park? You know, because
Is there a driveway into
There is
28
currently a
after that? Aren't there?
if there's, yeah, but if you're maneuvering there.
Yeah.
If you have one of these big, I'm not advocating for them to. you
Right.
know, But if you're making that turn to take something that's carrying like a backhoe in,
I mean,
leaving it there, I mean, that's,
I think for the purposes through the chair of addressing those concerns, you'd want to include something that says no, first of all, no parking on Cape Way, but no blocking it as well, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Having a reasonable distance on either side is to not also create a visual hazard trying to exit. What, let alone straight up blocking it.
and they can figure out how to do it, yeah. And does a culvert under Cape Way?
Does a culvert go under Cape
Because I
Way?
remember there was a question,
Probably.
there's a culvert that there was a question of whether it would support the demo equipment.
That's under 28 Hartford Ave.
Okay, that's under
There's a
20,
culvert
I
going-
didn't know, I knew it was under something,
Mhm.
so it does not go under Cape Way.
I don't know, is there a culvert that comes under?
Don't believe it does. I think what happens is it goes across the street. And the house that is, the property across the street, is it, I don't know the exact address. It's like a red brick house that is set back. I know that in the past, they have had issues with like water, and I know that water does go underneath there.
Mhm.
Along the side of Cape Way, there is like a pipe that, and there are pipes that go below Cape Way. And the only reason I know that is because if you walk on Cape Way, you can see where heavy trucks had parked
Yeah.
and made like a depression, and it's like the outline of the pipes that run under
That's a bit
Cape
strange.
Way.
Transverse it, or do they follow?
That it transverse, it goes across Cape Way. And so that was also a concern
Yeah.
when, and this was many, many years ago, but it sunk in and cracked the asphalt on Cape Way with the heavy trucks.
Because I know that was, I think, an issue with when this first came up, and I'm staring at Michael, and he's ignoring me, so I thought he might remember better than me. But I thought Conservation Committee that was concerned about the integrity of the culvert.
Right.
And-
So, yes, so right where you have your cursor, right there, there is a pipe and water comes down Cape Way where you see all that green.
Yeah.
And
I'm just sharing it. so
Okay,
you
yep.
see it, yeah.
So where you have your cursor right now, right there is a pipe that goes underneath Hartford Avenue, continues on that side of the street. And
Across the street.
Mhm. Well, right where you have your cursor, they like, maybe around there used to be one of those open drains, or you could see the drain there.
Yeah, right there.
They improved that when the bike lanes were put in and when the sidewalk and everything was put in. But if you go back to Cape Way, and if you went on, when I'm looking at this picture, if you look at the driveway of Hartford Avenue North, the 28 Hartford Avenue North,
Oh, right.
well,
No, it's over here.
to the right.
Oh, sorry. yeah.
Right there.
Okay. Immediately to that right, there is like a small stream that runs underneath.
Yeah.
Where that goes, I think that goes across the street.
Across Hartford Avenue, so, okay.
Right, and I think it goes into that, right over into
Yeah.
that area.
So having heavy, I might be stupid here, but having heavy equipment on the driveway, is that going to impact the integrity of that?
Well, that was one of the things that the Conservation Commission raised, was that, yes, that has to be fortified. Because
I would think so.
yeah, because they also felt that you couldn't get, like demolish that without bringing equipment in, that might collapse.
Yeah,
I worked.
So
with
that's
one
been,
Years.
okay,
But since the 5,000.
So that White House we saw is not.
Maureen doesn't know how to read the both sides.
I distracted her, sorry.
He's distracted, so
Yeah, he does that.
I shall see.
You're right behind that.
See you later.
See if I'm gonna-
Have fun at your
Bye,
select.
Maureen.
Bye.
So,
Yeah, she's leaving.
yeah, she has to go to select board.
Um,
Yeah, that no one else wanted to.
Yeah.
So is that addressed in this document? I didn't see that. That did come up in other conversations, but I didn't see it addressed in this document.
Okay, I'm getting lost.
I think Lance has his hand.
Oh, Lance, I'm sorry, yeah?
Oh, no problem. So similar to Sue's comments, over on Breton Road, we're not private like Cape Way, but we are I think, an unaccepted right of way. So I don't know if we have such a leg to stand on as Sue would, but the residents did pay to have that paved about 2 years ago. And I know it's not, it wasn't a full reconstruction job, so it's not the kind of pavement that's going to last forever. So we have some concerns over heavy truck, parking or traffic on there. The state did pave, well, when they did the big the gas main replacement, they did repave part of it. But I would say anywhere from like 50 to 75 feet up the road, the rest of the way is pavement we paid for. So my point is, we have concerns also about any heavy truck parking on that road. We are a little wider than Cape Way, so cars can get by. But I guess I would like to at least be made aware in the loop of any intention to park heavier vehicles on our road.
It's a private road. I mean, that's something that we can put
Let's
into the,
include Breton.
yeah, we can just
Yeah.
include Breton, but
It is in private?
that's what.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
No,
I
so
see.
it's not private, it's unaccepted. And I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure what all the distinction is,
Yeah,
but it is a unaccepted right of way.
So you can see Cape Way here and Breton Road here. Cape Way obviously is not reflected in the official parcel map, because it's a private road. It's not, the road itself does not exist as a parcel that gets taken over by the town and transferred through town meeting as we just did with the one down the road.
is Breton.
I think you can find out.
So I think, am I?
Yeah.
Oh, I am. Oh. Oh, never mind. Yep, thank you. Yeah, a slight distinction. That it is an unaccepted road, but unaccepted in terms that it is not public. So Lance says, through the chair, does the Does the DPW plow that road?
So every year we need to basically submit a request and they review it for condition. That's actually why we paved it. Every year we had to patch it ourselves. And we did have it paved so that now it's an easier decision for the town to accept it annually for the plowing program.
Yeah. Yeah, versus Cape Way, you see, it's just a driveway, like.
Yeah.
Said.
And there's no mark at the end of yours that says, private way.
I don't believe so. No.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. That's me, no.
I mean, logistically, I'd be surprised if construction vehicles on Breton Road becomes a problem unless they get turned around and they take a wrong turn, but I mean, I don't see it, there's no reason why we can't include it in
Yeah,
the development.
because the only reason I could picture them doing it is, again, if they're dropping off a piece of equipment and they need to store the trailer somewhere. And if they can't do it on Cape, that's closer than,
If they can't store everything on site that they need to store, then
Yeah.
I, as well as Dennis, as well as Joe, the DPW director and town manager will likely have to have a conversation as to the way to do it. And I'm sure the town could accommodate something somewhere that it doesn't have to be placed on a neighbor's property. We wouldn't want to have to be in a position where they're asking to do that.
Yeah.
Or a subcontractor to do it mistakenly.
so why don't we put that?
But so see if I have this right, Sue,
Mhm.
Lance. On Cape Way, the concern is about any parking, whether it be cars or heavy equipment,
Yes.
right? We want to have that. Lance, I heard your concern is heavy equipment on Breton Road.
Road. Yeah, that is the bigger concern for us. Well, for me,
Okay,
actually,
so-
we haven't really gotten together as a neighborhood, but I've seen since this project is basically in my backyard, I've been the most interested. Yeah, the
Yeah.
residents, everyone did chip in 2 years ago to get the thing paved, so I'm sure everyone is interested in having that investment, last as long as we can get it to last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but are we okay? Because I have no idea what a construction site looks like on a Habitat, but I'm picturing multiple volunteers, maybe 10 people at a time. I don't know.
I mean, you can go take a drive by their site in Worcester, which is not far into Worcester, right off of Lake. Is Lake Ave? Lake Ave in Sunderland. Lake Ave in Sunderland, they are working on the 2 or 3 houses right there. They have a, what do you call it? Like a storage container, a portable storage container that, that it acts as like their shed for supplies and stuff like that. And it appears to me, not actually witnessing them constructing it, that they are in and out of that mobile shed to get what they need.
It's the volunteers the people that work on the site.
Agreed.
The question is, where are the workers, regardless of whether it's, volunteers or not.
Mhm.
Like when you have the demo crew come in, you're gonna have like probably 2 or 3 cars of people, just to man that stuff and to, so where do they, but I think the question is, Lance, I think it was, do you mind the vehicles, the worker vehicles, if people park them, or do we, we need to find them?
Where else could they? I mean, if they have to,
Or the little plows.
I would say too, if they have to park on Hartford Ave North, it might be worth having the times that they need to do that, having police detailers.
But that
So
answer,
if I can throw out 2 things. One is if they park on Hartford Ave North, there is an issue with the bike lane. Just FYI, because looking at the image right, there on your screen. But as far as volunteers and whatnot parking on our road, I don't want to say yes, speaking for my whole street, but I would say generally speaking, I wouldn't have a problem with it. There is probably room down the end of the road for a couple cars, where traffic can get by, decently. Obviously not a very high traffic road. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about a couple cars here and there parking. It's really just, like I said, heavy equipment. While I kind of have the floor for a second, so I don't have to raise my hand again, can I throw out another concern real quick?
Yep.
So I don't know, where they are in the planning of this aspect, but my biggest concern with the project is the fact that, there are hazardous materials, asbestos and whatnot in there. So I'd really, at some point like to be aware of, what a dust mitigation, program or what the plan is, because my kid's play set is probably about 50 feet from that house. So yeah, I just want to make sure that there's a very, very strict procedure, for decontaminating the house. I don't know whether they go in and strip out all the material first and then do the demolition or what the process is, but I definitely want to just, be aware of a healthy plan to mitigate that.
I don't know the details of demolition, beyond.
They have to take the,
They have to take the material
have to
out
take the
first.
material out.
That was,
Yeah.
Yes, because otherwise you
You
just,
just take the material
like,
out.
yeah,
that was,
it goes all in the air and everything
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
going.
that was what I was saying, because obviously we do know that we needed to have a survey of all those materials.
Yeah.
And demolition of single family homes and really any demolition is highly regulated.
Yeah.
With respect to that, I would imagine there's a dust control element again, and now I'm way out of my league and discussing these
Well, the
details.
specialists remove it, so they know what they're doing.
What, there are lots of regs, that you have to follow if you're, removing, hazardous materials. So any company that comes in is gonna have to comply with those. I don't know exactly when they did the hazmat survey. I think they found asbestos, like in the, the old putty in windows used to have asbestos in it. I don't
I
know
think they found it in
if the shingles,
Yes.
yeah, the shingles
Yeah.
had it. So, depending on what the material is, depends on, and how it's, if it's in a, if it's friable or not, if it can go poof, does impact how it's removed. I have not seen their hazmat.
To the gentleman's
But,
point,
yeah.
I mean, through the chair, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, we can certainly
Yeah.
make sure that that is just, if it's not already in this, I'm not seeing it, but
Yeah.
just making sure that that's highlighted in this document.
Yes, and that we have access, because I think Lance would probably like to look at the hazmat report. See what's actually on the site, and if neighbors could be notified before any work is done, that would be useful.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
I don't live right next to it, but I'm not overly concerned that anything untoward would be done because it is so highly regulated. There's protocols in place of what you have to do if you're moving the stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest concern about that stuff is people go ahead and demolish things that they were not approved to do.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and this thing is, yeah. So.
So I only have one other, just sort of comment. And it kind of touches on, Kathy, what you said and what Lance said. I don't know if there's any requirement by the demolition company to notify abutters. If there is, great. If there's not, can something, sort of be put out there that the neighbors would appreciate knowing, what day demolition's going to take place, just because, again, I know Lance wouldn't want the kids outside playing. I would want to make sure my windows are closed. Just to be err on the side of caution, and also just to know that, I'm sure they start very early in the morning. When I hear something outside at, 7:30 in the morning, I'll know what's going on. And then just another, and again, it's so minimal, but Friday mornings are trash and recycle day on Hartford Avenue. So we have to put our trash bins right at the end of Cape Way on Hartford Avenue North because the trash can't make it up to where our homes are. So we have no other option except to put our trash and recycle bins right at the bottom of Cape Way. Just so that they know that on Fridays, because if there's a lot of activity, and if anybody is like parking on Hartford Avenue, which they shouldn't, the recycle and trash would be able to pick up in that area.
And, just from my experience with construction, that's a tough, ask.
Yeah.
I mean, because also not necessarily for the, for the demo, because that's not gonna take like a long time, but the construction is.
Yeah.
And once they get going, they're gonna keep going.
Right, they're gonna keep going.
You can't say don't do it Friday.
Right, I'm just kind
As
of,
opposed to leave it relatively clear if they can, is that what you mean?
right, just to let them know that, because I wouldn't, and again, yeah, the construction will take a long time.
Yeah.
And that being the case, I wouldn't want to not have my trash picked up or my recycling picked up for an extended period.
I mean,
Is there a way to take it across the street, across Hartford Avenue North?
I don't think so, because directly across the street is the sidewalk. And I don't know if you can put the recycling and the trash on the sidewalk.
I think there's a technical.
I've seen people
against it,
do
but
it all along Main Street.
there's probably rules against obstructions
Hmm.
on sidewalks. I was thinking that through the chair, if we have a requirement within the land development agreement to keep Cape Way and Bratton Road, through the chair, Lance, do you also have to do the same? Do you have to all have to take your trash to the road, or do they go down your private way?
They do come down our way.
So, but for Cape Way, if there's a wide berth, presumably that wouldn't be an issue, like if we're already requiring that they keep clear of Cape Way? Like, you know what I mean? They give like a vehicle's length on each side or something like that?
Right, yeah, it usually what ends up happening if I can reference the picture you have on the screen right now. And you just went a little, whoops. No, not Bretton Road, but,
Exactly.
go down the Cape Way, go down a
Right
little,
there.
just one more time, okay. So, actually, you can see my neighbor, he puts his his orange traffic cones up there to try to prevent vehicles from parking there. But down right on whereas Cape Way starts to curve to the left onto Hartford Avenue, that's where I put my trash and recycle. And directly underneath the Cape Way street sign is where my neighbor at 4 Cape Way will bring his recycle and his trash bins.
So right on the edge of the property.
Right on the edge of his property.
So if we're effective and then they execute the parking restrictions that we want to put in for trucks and cars from Cape Way, that should resolve that.
Right, it should,
If-
right, we shouldn't have a problem if there's no one parked there or nothing blocking Cape Way.
And, just to circle back a little bit, we have no idea of when this is gonna start. Is there any way that we can really push to get the demo done quickly?
Maybe we get the demo done this year. I mean, they're probably not gonna start construction this year. They still have to go through Concom, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they start, maybe they don't. But I almost,
Is putting up its chunk of change first.
yeah,
Then if we can just do that, because, I think that's been pointed out to us ever since I've been on this board, which is like 2 years now, or 2.5 maybe. It's a hazard.
I mean, why don't we nail it down through this? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, good idea.
definitely.
If we can get
To the start date, it says 180 days from the date the deed is recorded.
To construct the house or?
No, for the start.
To start the project.
So, just ballpark, are we expecting this to be done in the deed recorded in 3 months, 6 months? I'm not familiar with the time process.
I mean, this is my first time going through this process, so.
I mean, I would like, this is why I wanted folks to look at it today. I'd like to get almost a finished product.
Mhm.
And then I mean, do folks have a problem if we schedule the meeting outside? I know we're going into the summer. But outside of our schedule, if, we can urge Hank to review and
If it's a day we can make, yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah. Because I just, because people can do it remotely too.
Yeah.
You don't have to, come down to town hall. But it's, the sooner we can get this, and then the sooner you can lock in prices. As soon as, I
Right,
mean, heavens knows what's gonna happen. What's gonna be in place at the beginning of next year as far as tariffs. And I think they're probably just as eager to get started.
Okay, the question for you to Mike. What was the starting point? See, town council first wrote this
yeah.
and then Hank did.
Mhm.
Because I agree, we should meet again, and finalize, but I gotta say, I was very pleased with the document.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought Hank started the document, I said, wow, he's giving us a lot.
Yeah.
And, there's like a goodwill, so many goodwill
Yeah.
gestures.
Yeah, it was very good.
Starting dates, it's like,
The
so it makes sense
development-
now, I understand where it started, town council. Great.
Because pretty much everything the developers did. It's like we're
Yeah.
basically, yeah, I just have the same.
Yeah.
Well, presumably we need to see Hank, we need to get together.
Right.
Don't we need to have a meeting with him? Or do we need to have a meeting to finalize this and then meet him so you can
No.
change it?
I mean, what my hope was, and this may have actually worked out better, is that we have to meet with Hank to answer any questions, to see if the stuff is workable, to
Yeah.
ask him scheduling issues.
Yep.
To talk about next steps, but I would like to be in a position to authorize and vote at the next meeting if we can,
I
when
agree.
we meet with him. Because I really want to focus on.
I think we're really close.
Affordable housing.
Well, yeah, and I'll need to have, any changes I make, I'll have the town council review, so I'll
Yeah.
have to have a final document that incorporates all the
Yeah.
changes. And those changes reviewed.
Okay. So, yeah,
You're gonna try and set a date with Hank.
For meeting,
yeah, don't we want, I mean, how long, do I know town council around town meeting time is really bad.
Mhm.
Can they get this done fairly quickly?
I mean, sometimes it takes longer,
Well,
but like-
define longer.
a few weeks, but if I,
Give him a bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
But maybe you can reach out to
It could
Hank at
be.
the same time.
Yeah.
And just say, you want town council to approve everything, but if Hank can do it parallel, so then we're not going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
if we don't have a lot of questions for town council and it's just include these things, and town council doesn't have a lot of additional questions with regard to including these things and it adding any sort of other complications, then it's pretty straightforward. I imagine I'd have something back in 2 weeks if I sent it off today.
Okay.
That's assuming a good timeline with town council.
I think other than these, about the inclusion of several other items that we didn't see in it and, the other issues we discussed, I don't have any questions for town council.
I think that I've already heard, and valid concerns is from Sue and Lance.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I think we really need to update. Question about the $160,000 or $120,000.
Yeah, we'll figure out whether or not that's supposed
And I
to.
think that'll be solved fast. Oh, yeah, 160.
And also the wage stuff that they're asking wasn't included.
Right. Yeah,
So
fine, all
those were the things, but it was pretty basic. I just, it's, and they probably want to get moving on this, too. They probably want to get, they've been sitting on this since 2018. It's out when they first,
No,
There it was 14, was it?
no, I Habitat, it went out for bid, I think in
Yeah,
2018.
I think
Oh,
that's
that's
right.
right, back for,
Yeah.
for the, for COVID.
So they've been waiting for it. So haven't you guys? For 7 years now, this has been floating, so I think everyone's eager just to make it move.
So do we have to wait? Are you gonna get in touch with Hank and try and figure out dates?
Mm-hmm.
And town council.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem like it makes much sense to meet with Hank until town council reviews.
Right, but I didn't know if you wanted to run what we're asking
Yes.
by Hank too, because if Hank is like, there's no way we're
Right,
gonna
yep,
do this, then it doesn't make sense to have town
Yes.
council put it into the document.
yep, all right, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
All right, I'll copy you on that.
Okay, so Sue and Lance, do you have any final questions on this, or are you?
I do, I'm sorry. I actually thought of one more question on behalf of my next door neighbor. Does the land development agreement talk about work hours?
It's a good question.
It didn't address it right now.
But it's a good question.
I think the town basically, I actually don't know how much control we would have over that.
Well,
Well, this next week,
you can presumably, I think, there'd be a question for town council, you could control it through this.
Yeah, but contractors tend to work,
Yeah, I don't know if
Certain
you're shooting yourself.
schedule. And I,
well,
The state, so the town currently follows the state rules for that, which is governed by DEP.
which
Which
is seven,
is-
7 to 4:30 or something.
No, it's like 7 to 7.
7 to 7.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
No,
that's a good question too.
no, it's,
Does it include Sunday? I mean,
Include Sunday.
Well, just with volunteer working, I would imagine a lot of that
Yeah,
would be Sundays. I don't know.
mhm.
Lance, is your concern late nights or days?
Actually, early mornings. So I'm not worried about myself. My family is, I got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. They're up at the crack of dawn. But my next door neighbor, actually our new neighbor at 2 Breton Road, is a police officer in Northborough, and he works late hours quite often. I think he comes home from a shift around 2 or 3. So he's new. He's first heard of this project on Memorial Day at a barbecue. So he's, oh man, I need to sleep in a lot. So he was concerned. He wasn't able to make it tonight. I gave him the info, but I guess he's probably working right now. But yeah, so on his behalf, I was just curious, what limitations would be on, early morning. I mean, if the state or town regulation says 7, then, that is what it is. But I was just curious if it was documented.
also, I don't expect this to be, it's not gonna be blasting ledge. It's not gonna be, they'll probably be digging a basement, so probably a couple days where you're gonna have like the noise. But it's not gonna.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. It's hard over the, over
that's
the remote call. Yeah, I mean, it's just, so his house is probably as close as mine is. And so when you're at a range of like 50 feet or so, hammer on nail is enough to wake you up.
Yeah.
it goes a lot further than that.
Yeah, but I don't, and I know what you're talking about. I lived in Charlesburg Park when they were redoing Star Drive. And that was every day. It was like every night. And I know how awful it is when it's in your sleeping hours, but I just don't see, especially when he gets to bed at 3, I don't think it's feasible to, I mean, I'd be reluctant to ask.
Yeah,
Quite
me too.
frankly.
Mhm.
It happens, it's a construction site.
Not being trite or facetious, but I mean, he could invest in a white noise machine and perhaps good earplugs, something like that.
Yeah,
It's probably the best solution. If
because it's not gonna be.
you can't ask people not to
Yeah.
work at 7 in the morning.
And I think when you have the volunteers in, it's not, they're not gonna be there at 7 in the morning. They'll probably be getting there at noon, so I don't think it's as horrendous as, I think there'll be a couple bad days. And there'll be trucks. I mean, I think the worst thing for him is gonna be the trucks going into the property.
Even if you were to restrict like actual construction hours to hold off until like 9 a.m. or something,
Yeah.
they're still gonna want to get to the property to be ready to go before then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Contracts are
tough.
usually 7 in the morning.
It's
Yeah.
tough.
And it does impact, especially if they're working with union people. I don't know. They have very little room to wiggle room, is it?
Yeah, I mean, Habitat only has so much control, like you were getting at, like, because they hire contractors to do work as well. It's not just them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they're the project manager essentially, right? That's what's,
I mean, it's something we can, you know,
you can talk to Hank about
talk to Hank about, but I don't want him to get his hopes up.
Yeah, I understand, and I don't think he will, but I mentioned I would pass it on if he wasn't able to attend. And you know, honestly, I don't know if there's a way just to request that even if there are already noise ordinances in place, if they can just post what the work schedule is going to be. So it's in writing. Yes, we are starting at 7. Trucks may arrive at 6 or something like that. But any detail they can give ahead of time might be helpful.
Type of thing Habitat's really good at doing, because they really want to work with the neighbors. I mean, Habitat would love it if you guys could volunteer, so that's sort of what
I
they
just
do.
think you get them out of their foster if you want.
So,
I
You
might
know,
send my
I-
kids over if that's okay to help out. They'd love it.
I bet they'd love it, actually.
Yeah.
they would, the kids love it, yeah,
I'll meet with Steve.
so, okay. So everyone done with this? And I'm sorry, it's gonna be dragging out another week, but at least it's a move.
Yes.
So, and you have to, so. I was gonna think we all end up paying what's done, we signed the thing. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next item on the agenda then. Status of Affordable Housing Trust bylaw.
kind of already spoke about this. It's in review with the AG's office.
Takes care of that.
Okay,
So
Um,
so sometime in no later than, I'm just guessing, mid-August.
That
we'll be able to get the money. Update on CMRPC housing coordinator support events.
Starting, you have a prorated bill from CMRPC regarding the housing coordinator, as you lost your housing coordinator, back in.
Yep.
Was it? And so rather than paying the full 16,000, I think it was. You just are getting charged for the months that you had service available.
We had opted, they had offered to have someone else do it, and we opted not to,
Yeah.
so
So what do we end up paying?
6,000.
Yeah, 6,966.67.
Wait, say it again?
$6,900
$6,966.66.
Yeah, the original was 16,700.
I just saved us there, yeah, almost $10,000.
So
It's not be bad.
we have no more CMRPC support. With balance 2025 fiscal year, and also we can talk later for fiscal 26. Have they found anyone?
No.
No.
They're having a really tough time with it.
Um,
I thought I created a voucher for that, but I didn't.
Do I have to do anything?
No. That was, I thought I had a voucher attached to it. I was gonna have Kathy sign it, but I don't have a voucher.
yeah, I can come by,
Yeah.
like, just tell me when it's done.
Okay.
And let's see. Okay, we just did that. Other topics not reasonably anticipated by Chairman 48 hours in advance. I had just 2 quick things. One is going back to 28 Hartford Avenue North. Once we get the bylaws clear us and able to write out a check, how quickly does it take to do that?
So I would need to get authorization through accounting to do that. So what I think Kenny would be looking for is a vote of this board to support cutting that check, and he can do it
Okay,
because he's authorized, because we've already, that's what the town meeting has authorized the expenditure, right?
Yeah.
So, and this board is authorizing the expenditure. You've already essentially authorized it, but you're formalizing it through this.
Yeah. So it'd be a couple weeks after we authorize.
I mean, he gets the things, does that, through the new bylaw, would this have to go through the select board for their approval for the expense?
I forget the dollars, 300,000?
Yeah,
I think that.
300. It's anything above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
we
we would have to go to
play
them. So it's just through this board. So just a vote, just a vote of this board, I think, to authorize it after
Okay.
when you've executed this. Kenny gets the stuff Thursday, Friday is when he gets all his invoices that are sent to him. So, and then checks are sent out as soon as he's able to cut a check. I tell people when I submit for payment, look for a check 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay,
And if you haven't received it within that time, give me a call.
and I assume Habitat's not gonna plan a contract. I would just like to see that house down before Halloween.
Yeah.
You know. That's what I said last year. But, and the other thing I just wanted to bring up is, I don't know if folks got the email from Sue
Brower, yeah.
Brower today, regarding minority positions. Your name wasn't.
Well, I didn't read it because
Yeah.
I'd already said I wanted to re-up, but I said just in case that you didn't get my original email, I do. So.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, because I thought you guys were already, I mean, I didn't think either of you were up this year.
I was.
Yeah, I
Oh, you
was,
were?
Yeah, we both were.
Oh, you
but
were?
our names were not on there, so she.
Okay, so I
she
didn't
got
get,
our
oh,
emails.
I didn't get as far. as
So,
reading the list.
okay,
I
so you
should have.
both sent her an email?
Just said, oh, I'm gonna a quick email.
Previously, yeah, she had sent that same type of email saying,
If you send again today, your name still wasn't.
I don't know why she,
Oh, because their names are not on it, because I'm reading the email right now, because they don't need to be re-upped. So meaning you've probably already sent in your,
sent it ages ago,
Yeah.
but I see, when I got the email, I was like, oh, I wonder if she got my email. So I sent
It's
it.
next to Maureen's name. They say her term expires 2026.
she had, good morning, this is a follow-up from my previous email regarding the appointments. The select board will vote on 2026 appointments for on June 3rd. Attached is a list of individuals who. Peter's doing something. Attached is a list of individuals whose terms expire on July 1st. Please confirm whether or not you wish to be reappointed for another term. So, well, yeah, maybe did the select board already have a meeting and maybe do some of the appointments already?
or she's just knows that she's gotten responses. from
Yeah.
us, And she just,
Okay.
I mean, I was reappointed last year because I remember,
Your name on the list.
just had a 1 year.
no, but it doesn't have anything next to me. And then it still has me, and I did ask her about this, it still has me being the planning board's rep on the capital budget committee, and I'm not. There's another guy, Charlie DeGloria, I'm on the community preservation committee. So it's sort of, I think her information is really outdated.
It's an interesting format.
It's very,
The colors and.
it's very strange.
Yeah, I did.
All right, I'm just emailing her, asking her if that list includes folks who have already requested reappointment
So when are they gonna be doing the reappointments?
on the 3rd.
Of July?
No, June.
June.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So we have to show up at upstairs?
I don't think you have to show up. You just need to send her a letter saying you wish to be reappointed.
Yeah, because I remember last time, the first meeting, I wasn't a member. I came that afternoon, last year, to basically do the paperwork.
Oh, then we have to go and see Denise and do the
Yeah.
thing, but,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Is there a conflict of interest laws? I ignore the email.
Haven't you done them yet?
I had, but I have to renew it, I think.
Every 2 years.
every two,
Did you do it last year?
No,
Yeah, I do.
You didn't do it last year?
maybe two.
I don't think so.
No,
Oh, well,
I just redid mine
Well,
you just redid it?
a couple of months ago, yeah.
You're
Okay,
still.
well, I've been ignoring this.
Oh, you're ignoring it. Oh, well, that's.
I flunked.
So it's because of this committee.
Anyway,
By not completing it doesn't mean you're not subject to it.
No,
I thought they would go away, but they have persisted.
it doesn't take that long to,
Oh, good.
it doesn't take that long to do.
No, no.
Now that I'm retired, I hate. all this. So I
It is.
always have to do them.
it's not, it's like takes almost 2 hours.
Oh, she just said it was.
No, it didn't take that long.
It's a long time. So, I mean, the time, it's like, I think if you look at all the modules, the listening part
Yeah.
is like
If you
an
actually do
hour,
it right.
is an hour. And then you add, but
That's
that
what I was
doesn't,
thinking.
but that doesn't have to, that doesn't include the thinking and
The
the answering the questions wrong all the time. I think,
If you answer the questions wrong, it just tells you.
no,
Yeah, exactly.
I just overthink it. I think I get,
No, really?
questions, I get
I'm
too
gonna-
hard. I overthink it. It's like not what I would do, but what I think they want to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
And so I flunk, but they don't care. I could probably get them all wrong, but I still have gone through the damn program.
You must see local, if local government's this bad, I'm sorry. It's
Town is really fun, you know, it's, you guys should do it. It's like smart and already got off the call. Yeah.
Smart man.
Smart man.
Right, have we got anything else to discuss?
Okay, no, we don't. We can go home now.
That's itself for,
We gotta, close the meeting.
the advertising of the.
Yeah.
Kathy,
Can we set the meeting?
and can we close the meeting? I mean, can we formally
Can we
close the
set up a
meeting?
tentative meeting?
Yeah.
Because that'll give us a deadline, that'll give Hank and the town and councilors.
It's my husband, he's the techie.
What do I do, right up departmental?
Yep.
Do you still have your, planning committee meetings?
Yeah, planning board,
Planning board, yeah.
Right after this?
yeah.
So when you guys meet, was that once a month? Because we seemed like we had a routine.
We meet
It'd
twice
be
a month.
helpful to have-
Yeah, we
Oh,
meet twice.
twice a month.
Yeah.
I think we're meeting maybe on the first meeting of your month.
Yeah,
Can we do that again? Because that's helpful.
well, we can, except we're gonna be adopting a summer schedule. Which
Planning
is,
board is.
yeah, planning board is, and that's gonna throw our schedule off the summer.
What is the summer schedule?
We don't meet as the planning board
Oh,
meets
okay,
twice
yeah.
a month, and the planning board doesn't meet that often. So
Okay,
we probably meet once a month, I think, in the summer.
so pick a day.
So it's a Tuesday, right?
It's a Tuesday. I don't think, because Margaret's gonna be away, I don't think we're gonna be doing the first meeting in July. I think we're getting rid of the July meeting. I bet it'll be the second or third week. I mean, it's gonna be the, yeah.
Yeah.
Will be the time that we're meeting.
Okay.
So, are folks gonna be around the end of July?
End of July.
Oh, end of July. June is good. Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I might be, I might not be.
No, I
really
think that's
don't-
why
I
it'd
really
be helpful to.
I really can't answer it.
So June, what are we doing in June? What is the next, like, next planning board meeting in June?
I mean, you're having both your planning board meetings in June, I think.
Yep.
So it's the 10th and the 24th.
Both are in the 20.
I don't know. I really, I don't know.
Yeah, 10's good.
The 10th would be better.
Do you think people can get everything done by the 10th? And
What's the
the
date
planning
again?
board?
10th and
27.
I don't think we'll have everything done by the 10th, but we can,
Oh.
look, we can just, I mean, is it a huge inconvenience to pencil in the 10th and then cancel it?
That's what I'd rather do.
Yeah.
It's one month for the year. And I always know that whatever, it's the first Tuesday, the second Tuesday, and then we can cancel.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
But I would like.
Whatever you'd like
keep
to
the
do.
24th open though,
Okay.
sure.
just
Oh.
because I think that's more realistic.
I don't know. As I said, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing, nobody knows, but, except for me, because I have a real board.
Well, no offense to Jeannie, but if Maureen and Jean are here, you could proceed with something.
Yeah, you can do it without me.
So that, and then, maybe in September, we can talk about, is it the first?
Somebody schedule. Yeah, it would be nice to have a proper schedule.
Hmm.
Right.
So you'll reach out, try to get this done by the 10th, but it's unlikely,
Mhm.
because I don't want to meet again until
Mhm.
we got this thing.
Yeah.
You know, sort of ready to go.
Good.
You know, when we first can reconvene the Affordable Housing Trust, I told people that we met only 4 times a year. That's ridiculous.
Be updated on the.
Well, that's,
I that's how you can get anything done, we should, we could get anything done, then. That question. So are you gonna close the meeting?
yeah.
Madam Chair?
Can I, before we do? Well, I think would be helpful, and I'm happy to do it, but I would need Michael's input, or maybe a new that's a long list of things, is we just call like a hip pocket guidelines, things that, they weren't really hip pockets, but things that you just always had, you could easily just show. And one of the things I get hung up with is what is, and 10% is our goal.
Yeah.
But where are we? And then I have to go to the housing production
Yeah.
report and
Yeah.
then look at that, and then it's just be nice if it's
And it
one
always.
overview that
Yeah.
just shows it.
Yeah,
And
like a
it's-
fact sheet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just,
Good one.
just readily available to where, what, 7.8 or, no, 6.8, I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you're right. 6.8.
When is Lotus are gonna start building, on, by.
This year,
Yeah, but when,
but they're still,
there's still what?
they were just on the site doing borings stuff, so
Okay.
yeah.
And I think we
Yeah,
have to
with
just
those-
lay that out, 6.8, we have a plan.
Yeah.
The Lower Supply project is X percent,
Yeah.
that gets us here, and then there's still a gap to define then that gap that we have.
and it's also more housing being developed.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna
But
build,
hopefully, we're always gaining some of that. with the
Single
10%.
family, people do,
Yeah.
like next to me, they're gonna be putting in 2 single family.
actually, here's,
It's not something.
this is changing, but the purported development on East Street, the 16 or 17 units plotting us on East Street.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I've decided
For,
Eastern States, yeah.
how many are they talking about?
16, 17. I assume some of those are going to be affordable.
That's what I'm trying to get an answer from town council on that, because so you know how, Governor's Landing submitted that.
Yep.
Subdivision that will never get created, and they
Yeah.
did that for the specific purpose of freezing zoning.
Yeah.
And the reason why they did that, they wanted the zoning frozen is so that any changes to their development where it's happened or something else were to change, or they come back with something else, is that they would not be subject to the inclusionary zoning bylaw.
Okay.
East Street Estates, because they have been to the planning board numerous times under different filings
Yeah.
over the years. I'm concerned that they are subject to that zoning freeze and do not have to provide them.
They didn't, but this is.
I cannot confirm that, though. I'm asking for a town
Right.
council.
All right.
I don't think this is a new project.
It is,
It's a whole
but they
thing.
filed definitive subdivisions before. When you file a definitive subdivision, that starts a zoning freeze of 7 years.
The way that they go, it's, are we still being,
Yes.
okay.
So before we do that, back to that point, would you like me to work with you or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or-
It won't be in next week before I get to that, so
About doing the calendar.
Or just a one.
that'd be a great,
Oh, sorry, yes.
that'd be a great project for her to work on.
Yeah, this is, because it's good
Yeah.
training for her
Mhm.
too.
For sure.
Yeah, I always have you as my hip pocket. It's like, what is the address again, Brian?
Brian,
See about Brian.
just email me next week about it. And
Okay.
then I can include her on the council with our next conversation about it.
Good.
Now, can we make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I'm good.
Second?
I second.
Okay, yeah, adjourned.
Hold on.